Thanks. Plug in.
Good afternoon. It is 2:00 on Monday, September 10th. I'm calling the Resources and Infrastructure Committee meeting to order. We have a quorum. All committee members are present. Staff present is General Manager Matthew McElhaney, our confidential administrative assistant Haley Dodson, our Water Department Supervisor Cody Meeks, our Wastewater Department Supervisor Tony Artho, our Program Manager Tristan Reaper, and our Utilities Department Manager Jim Green. Is Eric Johnson coming, or?
No, he'll be on Zoom.
He'll be on Zoom. Okay. Okay, Chairman's report. I just wanted to remind everybody that this meeting is taking place at the meeting in October. So our next meeting will be November 4th. Okay, do we have any ad hoc subcommittee reports? Were you able to get any more information, Mr. Meeks? No. What about you, Mr. Williams?
No, don't have
Okay,
anything to
so
report.
we have no ad hoc committee reports today. Committee member communication. Does any member of the committee have anything they wish to relate to us about your recent activities? No? Not even Mr. Webb?
Today.
Okay. Okay, so we're moving on to the Utility Department Manager report.
Great, thank you, Chair Dean. I'll begin with some kind of refreshing on some of the utility projects initially that we're going through and processing on here. The transmission line, so that's our wastewater, treated wastewater effluent, and then our domestic water from San Simeon line, that just short of 1 mile long line that we're working with state parks and Caltrans and about 15 other stakeholders on that. Where we're at right now with that is Cannon's obtaining kind of a pilot encroachment permit for potholing. We need to see what underground's down there, what the geo is on there. They want to work on an encroachment permit waiver for an open cut trench. So horizontal drilling is about $1,000 a foot. Not about, it is $1,000 a foot or more. So an open cut trench is a lot less costly, and we can put our pipes in a large pit 10 feet apart from there and meet the distance requirement between wastewater and potable water lines there. So that's what they're working on right now. Again, they're working with Caltrans. They're not so quick to respond. Being up and down the state here in the last week or so, I see a lot of Caltrans projects going on. So I'm not sure if they're just perhaps understaffed or just a little bit slow on returning some phone calls. But Cannon, our consultant, is working directly with them to try and get that pothole waiver encroachment permit, so we can kind of dive down there and get to the next part of our engineering for this. It's the last piece we need there. Our Stewart Street tanks, we submitted a fee waiver request to county planning, excuse me, because some of these fees we paid initially when we put the tanks in. So we're trying to get some of our monies back. This is about $3,500 to $7,000 worth of fees that we're trying to have waived because they indeed have been paid prior to that. The biological resources monitoring and reporting has been completed. EPA has reached out. The EPA, again, is our funding or our funder for that $375,000. So they've reached back with some additional questions of concern regarding quantity and extent of vegetation removal. As you know, if anybody's driven by the Stewart Street tanks there on Richard, that there's not a whole bunch of vegetations or weeds or many trees there to remove. So that's an easy answer. So we've responded to them, and hopefully we'll hear back from them if they have any more questions or concerns. We still look forward to that fund awarding fourth quarter of this year or first quarter, probably January of calendar year 2025. Look forward to that. Big topics. We had some movement on the ZLD front last week. I'll start off with the bad news. The bad news is that the Connex trailer, which is that 40-foot trailer, which will contain all the operations of the ZLD components and devices, will not be completed until late November. Late November, let's be honest, that probably puts us into a December timeline. If we've already received rain and that our 9P7 starts to fill up, That's not the best conditions or environment for a raw source that we wanted to put that pilot through. Obviously, we wanted to do it sometime around now or October as that aquifer lowers and that water quality, that raw water quality worsens. That's what we want to try that pilot with right now. So we'll have to see if we continue to have no rain or not much rain that affects that aquifer, that water quality level in there. Then we'll go ahead and we'll proceed with the pilot in November, December. But I'm trying to juggle all these options. Again, we want to get the most out of that pilot. If we want something designed based on the pilot, we have to feed it that raw water quality, that source water that it will be treating off of right now. There's some constituent analysis from Regional Water. James Bishop specifically was concerned about our land discharge. So our permeate from the actual ZLD, where we take all the salts and all the constituents out of it, that was going to be returned to our land discharge there in our percolation ponds. We do have a land discharge permit with Regional Water Quality. There are some concerns by James Bishop, so we should have some constituent analysis by the end of today that we're going to respond to him with and see if that is within tolerance of their land discharge or of our land discharge permit that we have with them. And we are also completing a site plan as requested by county planning. This is probably the last piece we need in our substantial conformance determination. So basically, so we can operate or run this permit, which is this temporary pilot permit. I don't want to say permit, I want to say temporary pilot rather. So those are the couple big bullet lines on the front there.
For non-water folks, so basically, Global Water Innovations and Clark Easter are just giving the test results of the water discharge quality to make sure it's not toxic before we do the land discharge.
Right, so we have these 3 to 5, or Global Water has these 3 to 5 other pilots that they're operating on right now, and they're just taking the analysis from there, saying this is what this unit does. This will be in this kind of constituent tolerance range here. Obviously, their water quality or different water quality is going to be different than our raw water quality. So with that determined, we can kind of have a litmus test of what's going to be put out by this permeate. And we'll see if that meets their quality. If not, we have some other alternatives for land discharge where we can return that to the headworks or to our influent tank for treatment again. So there's some alternatives if we will not get the okay for the land discharge for that. Tristan, anything on the program manager front you want to share?
Just that we had a sidewalk with the some of the people who were hoping will respond to the RFP for the East Ranch bathroom building installation project. Yeah, sidewalk went very well. We've got some good questions. We've got to provide some good answers. I think that
We had 2 contractors.
yeah, 2 contractors showed up. I think that was all. Was there anything else that I was supposed to add or?
No, that's just kind of a brief synopsis of it.
So we're moving along with that. The bidding for that closes on Friday at 10 a.m.
And that's just for the site prep, is that right?
And building installation also.
And building installation,
Right,
it's both
yes.
parts.
Yeah, so
Got it.
we're gonna go ahead and prep the site here in October. Prior to the wet season, we'll get our compaction analysis and testing. We are to receive, oh gosh, what's the date? Is it late December or January 7th?
Yeah, we're working on.
We're working on the delivery date here.
Okay.
Historically, we kind of get that rain around the first of the year, right around the 1st or 2nd of January. So hopefully it won't, obviously we get the majority of our rain and aquifers fill up in late February and March. So we're hopefully these early rains we get in January won't cause too much havoc or upset our compaction there, or most likely the compaction will be fine. We'll recompact before we actually install the building. But we're worried about getting that 18-wheeler truck lowboy in with that bathroom on it and not getting them stuck either in or getting out of there. So we're kind of, we're wrestling with the wet season there. But
So
that's,
it's a prefab
It is, yes.
Was I right? There were two RFPs though, one for site prep and one for installation. I thought at one point there were two RFPs going out. Was I wrong on that one?
We were considering whether we
We were
want to do it as two RFPs, but we
Oh,
ended up deciding
ended up
just to
with
do
one.
it as one.
Okay, I missed that part of the
The
conversation.
second
Got it.
RFP on the CCC website is for the environmental monitoring services that are gonna be associated with this construction project.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions on anything that Utilities Manager Green reported on? Okay, so on the transmission line, so we are thinking instead of doing the underground
The horizontal drilling, yeah.
Yeah.
Open cut trench.
all the way along Highway 1,
Mm-hmm,
okay?
right.
Is there a difference in the cost?
Cheaper.
Yeah, about $300,000.
Cheaper
Yes,
to do trench?
yes.
Oh, good,
That'd
okay.
be like, all that was alternate three, wasn't it?
It was. We knew Caltrans would have some difficulty with it, but Caltrans encroachment is our only option at this point with that nature's preserve being on state parks.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll work with us here on that. I think it's a little bit safer to open cut trench, not only cheaper, you can see what other underground utilities are in there rather than just boring right into
You can deal with
another
it.
utility. So, yeah, there's some other beneficial aspects to open cut trenching. It's a little slower on time, because you can probably drill that in half the time than you can open cut trench, but it is a little bit safer, especially in regards to, you got a lot of utilities in that 25-foot easement from the corner, from that edge of Highway 1 to, State Parks property. So want to make sure we don't want to upset anything else or cause any further delays in that project.
You're still gonna bore underneath the creek?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely, yeah. So, yeah, we'll open cut and then horizontally drill into Washburn parking lot day use and set up a pit there, a receiving pit, and then we'll make that second final long horizontal drill to basically the Washburn frontage road on our side of the property where we'll have our staging area, and that's where we'll make both interconnections there on our property. So, but we'll be removing probably about 2,000 linear feet of horizontal drilling.
Okay, the zero liquid discharge, they didn't take a sample of our source water a couple of years ago when we started talking about this. Well, even if they did, it's probably too old, right?
It is.
It is too
Right,
old.
so, Regional Water wanted updated today's specs from one of these pilots.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we're good.
Right,
We got that,
right.
okay. The East Ranch restroom, there is a really interesting video on the public restroom website on exactly how they bring that restroom in.
Mhm.
It's kind of interesting if anybody wants to watch it.
Mhm.
So, there is actually, a video of one very similar to what we're getting for the East Ranch on their
I'm
website,
confused about the phrase, the public restroom website.
public restroom company's website.
Oh, their company website. I was wondering, what's the public restroom website? Got it. Thank you. Okay, yeah.
No webcam there.
It's just a bunch of closed caption cameras.
No. No, they actually were installing one, delivering one and
Oh, really?
putting in place one that was very similar to the one that we're getting.
Yeah, they show the crane.
With a crane and where the truck has to go and on all of that. It was kind of interesting. I've watched it a couple of times quite a while ago when we first ordered it.
I think from my understanding, I'll have Tristan verify this, but I think you've got about, the truck has to be 35 feet away, no more than 35 foot away from its final resting place.
Right.
So if we have some wet conditions or wet environment there in January, that'd be a bit of a concern. And so if we have to, you bring in a couple trucks and bring in some class 2 base to spread that out, so that way we can get around and then we can pull that up. We can always repurpose it at other locations as well.
Is it coming in one truck or is it sections coming
It'll be
in?
a single truck, a single flat truck.
It's all assembled, all one piece.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have some pick handles where they kind of grab it and clean it up and lift it and just drop it right down. Yeah. It's fantastic. Cool.
Okay, the only people on Zoom is our, Eric Johnson and 2 directors, so I guess we don't have any public comment on Zoom. And Dean, do you have any questions? Okay, moving on then. do public comment on agenda items, and as I said, I don't have any members of the public online. And I don't see that anybody else has any questions. So let's move on to the consent agenda, and this is consideration to approve the September 9th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Does anybody have any changes in the minutes from our meeting earlier this month? No? Okay, does someone want to make a motion to,
I will.
okay,
I'll move that we approve the minutes.
okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Steve? Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call because people watching the recording can't see who's speaking. So Mr. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Seaver,
Aye.
Mr. Jujic,
Aye.
Mr. Meeks,
Aye.
and Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes were approved unanimously. So moving on to regular business, and this is discussion regarding the rodeo grounds pump station backup power system replacement project and review bids received in response to the RFP and consider forwarding a recommendation to the CCSD Board of Directors. Mr. Green, you want to take this?
Absolutely. So, a 1985, probably at this point, tier 0 generator, gross polluter, has become obsolete. We're no longer able to get replacement parts for this. So any repairs to this aging device will have to be fabricated. The recent quote we have received, and this is 6 months ago, 8 months ago, was for fabricate, so they don't make the parts, they have to fabricate these parts, and it's around $10,000. And it may be worth, maybe not. So with that said, we know we've got about 3 generators that are this era, this vintage, that we need to replace. Rodeo grounds is kind of the heart of our system. And so that's our priority. So that's why we're replacing this first. It's also the one with the most hours, so it's the most utilized. So we're starting there. Initially, the scope was just to replace the generator. We looked into it with a trusted contractor and started talking, well, maybe we should replace some of the wiring. And well, to do that, the scope kind of changed, and the scope changed into a little bit bigger project, but we realized that we're going to need backup power while we replace this backup power generator. Again, it's the heart of the system, and we can go off hydraulic levels in tanks if we fill them up without that booster station being active. But for probably about 4 to 6 hours safely. Without that, we start to reduce pressure. When you lose pressure, anything under 25 PSI is considered like water loss, and we'll have to back T, which just means test for analysis to make sure our bacteriological levels aren't high and that our chlorine levels are adequate for that. So with that said, we thought we'd change the scope and put in a piece, which is probably be needed in the future as well, where we have the ability to have our generator, which we already own, a towable remote 125 kVA that we can plug into that. So the scope of this went up about $25,000-$30,000 to do that. But in the future, should this new generator ever need replacing or repairing, we have an emergency event, we'll have that pin and sleeve or that or that connection where we can tow in that remote generator and plug that in and get that. So it's a piece, it's a little bit more expensive for that piece, but I think it's something that'll be well utilized for the future. And even if we move rodeo grounds, those pieces will come with us and go up to the higher level there. So that was a little bit of scope change there, which also kind of kicked us up the fiscal impact above our budgeted amount that we had discussed last year or so. So I think we'll have to do a budget adjustment. I know we will, because I think we asked for 130, and I think we're at 136 and north of that right now. So if you guys like, we can go ahead and start digging into proposals. There's just 2. So if I can get things to for you there. We can start off, I believe the first one is Alpha. Alpha Electrical has a ton of institutional knowledge of our system. They've done work with us for decades. Our SCADA system was initiated by Alpha Electric. Alpha Electric is also our contractor for the electrical portion of the SST, wastewater treatment plant upgrades. So they're both very similar. They're both quoted for the same device or backup generator. And we can start off with alphas. If anybody has reviewed this and has any questions on it, we can try and speak to that. Basically, they come in with everything we've described. So that's the repulling of new wires. That's the pin and sleeve backup connection for the pullable generator. Should we need that? And then, of course, the new generator procurement and that involvement in that. And that brings us just south of $137,000 for that project total. Again, the generator that we're talking about is a 30-week lead time, I think right now, so.
They did have a number of clarifications in their scope of work. It kind of indicated to me they understood our system, but do we agree with the clarifications as far as if those add cost, are all those reasonable?
Alpha, yes,
Clarifications. Yeah, okay,
absolutely,
good.
yeah.
Including the no permit costs. Their assumption was that it includes no permitting costs.
Well, there's permitting, but we'll shoulder that.
And that's
We're
already
doing
been-
all the
okay.
permitting in-house.
Yeah.
Tristan likes doing permitting so much. Over the last year, we're just going ahead. We're gonna do it all in-house. No, I mean, honestly, we've developed some very good relationships with
Sure.
county planning, the
Totally.
APCD. And, you know, our many regulators and government agencies that we deal with, so we don't mind taking on that burden. It's something that we're already very familiar with. And, honestly, adding that scope. So contractors hate to do permitting.
Of course, they
And that scope ends up being like another $10,000-$20,000 per,
easy.
you know, but about a day's worth of.
And you lose control, so you're
You do.
better off doing it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right, but, and all that usually happens is you end up answering the questions anyways. You just have a third party in between, so it does nothing but extend and cost more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why we always
And
hit
Tristan
them.
likes to do it, right?
That's what he said.
And we're always like, it's true, I'm sure.
Really nice to do it.
Right, and write RFPs,
Yeah.
but, you know,
There's quite a bit of difference in cost between the two bids.
there's quite a bit, which surprised me. I've had conversations at length, with this Hayden Piper, who was at, CD, which is this, Blue Star generator company. I thought honestly, they would undercut being the generator, you know, manufacturer. I mean, it's kind of like the restroom company. They have to have one of their individuals or representatives come and inspect the building, you know, for that warranty to kick in and then so forth. So, well, if we have a Blue Star generator, we'll still have to have one of their representatives come and inspect and give us that authorization for us. If they install it, I think we have an extra year or so of warranty for the Blue Star. I don't think $40,000 warrants an extra year's worth of, especially in your initial 5 or 10 years. I mean, you know, nothing goes wrong in the first, 3 to 5 years with pretty much anything, you know, so it's always the day the warranty, stops when something goes wrong there. So I didn't think that $40,000 really warranted that warranty, or that cost of that warranty really warranted that additional $30,000 to $40,000, but.
We've had quite a bit of experience working with Alpha Electrical. Have you done anything with the other company?
Not a darn thing.
Yeah, Alpha Electrical knows our community and has worked with you guys before,
Absolutely.
so I feel like they're better informed.
They even do residential work.
Yeah.
Large and small projects, we've been using quite a bit of them. Alpha.
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
Well, I
I mean,
recognize the
smaller
name
electrical.
Right.
on a lot of things that we've done in the district. Yeah.
They've worked on everything, water, wastewater. I know they've done some F&R work when we rehabbed that building after the last flood and got that up and running. So, yeah, they're definitely a trusted source. When they give a bid or proposal number, very rarely, in fact, none of the projects that I perform with them have ever had a change order at the end where they're asking for more money. So the budget cost remains the same, and their timeline for execution is always on or before that date that's promised. So.
Did I miss it, or did they say what brand of generator they're talking about? Were they talking about using the Blue Star generator?
It is. That's initially where I got the lead, was
Okay.
from Alpha's paperwork, so I called Blue Star
So on
Direct.
page 47 of the PDF,
I did miss it.
under tier, first line under tier 4F.
Furnished is the, yes, is that PG&E or is it food, is it?
That will be the contractor.
You will, and that's been spec'd out, you spec'd it out?
Yes.
Figured.
Mhm.
I just specifically say furnish and install ATS. So.
So if we have Alpha Electric do it, we still have to have someone from Blue Star to come inspect it at some point.
Yeah, that usually that's small little inspection piece usually comes with the purchase or procurement of the generator.
Okay.
We had it very similar when we bought the Cummins for, SS2. The purchase price of that was to have an authorized Cummins representative come and inspect the dealer. And then they do kind of like a little tailgate session where, they bring the operators in, you say this does this and, this does that, and don't ever let your oil levels they give you a nice walk around, you get to kick the tires. So it's a nice little training session. So that would be included. Nonetheless, it wouldn't be an additional charge.
That's what my
Yes.
question
It
was.
wouldn't be an additional 40,000 to drive down.
It would not be an additional.
Okay,
charge. Yeah.
good.
Okay, yeah, that was what my question was. Is
Yeah,
there an
I
additional
think,
charge?
yeah, that's what we get, yeah.
Okay, and anybody else? No? Okay, so your recommendation or your preference is to go with Alpha Electric.
Yeah.
Okay, and how does the rest of the committee feel?
Hmm.
Okay, so can I have,
Okay.
a motion to forward a recommendation to proceed with Alpha Electric for their generator replacement project?
Also move.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay. I'm gonna do a roll call. Mr. Ducek,
Aye.
Mr. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Seaver,
Aye.
Mr. Meeks,
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Did I miss anybody?
No, that was five.
Okay, so we've gone ahead and approved forwarding recommendation to the CCSD Board of Directors to use Alpha Electric. And there are no public comments. Okay,
No questions.
no questions. Okay, so now we're gonna go to agenda item 4B. We're gonna receive and review the completed watershed sanitary survey update and consider forwarding the recommendation to the CCSD Board of Directors. Go ahead, Mr. Green.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the 2024 watershed sanitary survey update really should have been a 2020. Back then there were there's always competing factors for priorities around here, and a document just wasn't one of them at that time. And I reached out to water systems consultants, so WSE, who had done our previous one for 2015. They were not interested in providing an update or rewriting that for us. So reached out to several other consulting agencies to kind of get this on, and everyone kind of declined. Not kind of, they definitely declined. So we ended up with a fantastic individual. He does a lot of work he did all the permitting work for Morrow for their WRF. So it's Dan Heimel and Confluence Engineering Solutions. We'll be using him more in the future for some of our environmental needs. But I think he put together a fantastic document here. I want to remind everybody that this speaks to like our regulators and our agencies. So some of the language is not layman's, it's directed at those agencies and that specific kind of dialogue in there. So it's not the easiest read, but I thought the update and some of the things that they put in there were fantastic thoughts. We worked collaboratively with them for the last probably 4 to 6 months, gleaning information from us. They provided us some information that they had on their side that we've been privy to before. So that I thought that was pretty cool. And they also had some great suggestions like takeaways for us, like education. So maybe when we get around to the farmer's market next spring and so forth, I could bring some of these environmentalists or some of the stuff, and we could talk about watersheds and how to protect them. And, if you're out there hiking, whatnot, I mean, hopefully nobody's dumping and, pack it in, pack it out mentality. But I just want to kind of bring in some of that awareness and hopefully next year. So it's going to take me a couple of months to kind of get that programmed and scheduled, but that's something that I'd like to kind of provide you guys. But, I think one of the coolest things is kind of the first page there where you can see in green how they have the Santa Rosa aqua shed and then the sub, aqua shed there. And then in red, that's our San Simeon area there. So, I mean, we've had the question posed to us before, Yeah, you've got wells out here in Santa Rosa, you got wells over here in San Simeon. If I punch a little well here for myself, that won't affect any of those aquifers there, and that's not true. So, as you can see by the outline here, and then that's why we don't allow personal wells in our service area. It's also a LAFCO rule and restriction, so, yeah, there's a ton of cool things in here we pulled out and kind of gleaned some knowledge that we can go over. If you guys just want to ask, some questions and, we can try and speak to it.
I noticed Ben Weaver's name is listed in here as a water resource engineering assistant. He was on our Zoom
Yes.
last time, but didn't speak. I was
Right.
wondering who it was, and now I saw his name in there,
Yeah.
so he's not here today.
Yeah, he penned a good majority of this topic.
This was very educational, very
was.
informational, and I really enjoyed reading it.
Yes.
No, I really did. I actually read through it twice.
Oh, good.
But a
Fantastic.
couple of things. I noticed in Appendix B in one of the pictures from the previous one, they also showed where 46 and Highway 1 were, and as well as Santa Rosa Cliff Road and San Simeon Creek Road. It would have helped me a little bit to see those in this map for the current one as well, because, you know, I have trouble placing things sometimes in my mind.
Right?
Yeah, but, yeah,
Develop some.
yeah, just to know where things are in relationship to 46 and
Okay.
1.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't expect them to change this. I'm just saying that that would have helped me a little bit
Right, we
in
can
this.
pass that on.
Um, what is this error reference? Service was not
Yeah.
being,
It's a cross-reference, it's an automatic cross-reference to table 2 there. And somehow it got broken. They just need to fix that. It's supposed to say table 2. In
Okay.
Word, you can do it so it automatically follows your table around.
okay.
It lost it.
It
So,
was- Okay.
yeah, so
That's,
they will-
that's me off.
Right.
they need to fix that, yeah.
And that's why I like to bring it around another set of eyes here. You know, I kind of read it for the material, what it's trying to say. And so I get lost sometimes in punctuation and grammar. So thank you guys.
Okay, on page 90 of the agenda packet, the number of waitlist positions is not accurate.
Okay.
We have 656 at the current time,
Um,
according to the CCSD website.
I was gonna say, I think that document is at least 2 positions out of lead. We've had 2 withdrawals this year so far.
So there's less than 656. Okay,
What's the number is right there?
they gave 665, and that's
Oh,
been a long
okay, yeah,
time
no, we
since
should
it's been
definitely
665. Yeah.
We'll update that.
And in the vegetation, that they mentioned, they never mentioned Monterey Pines. Of all the vegetation in the area, isn't that what we're famous for?
You know, we're what by the sea? Yeah, we can have that. Yeah.
And I had one more thing. You know, set up and let everybody else ask their questions. Where did it go? There's, okay, on page 118 of the agenda packet. Did they mean previous WSS or actually being previous? It's previous, it's supposed to be previous,
That would be previous. Yep.
okay,
Okay. We're at 118.
yeah. So, I'm done picking it apart. No, but really, I did learn a lot from reading this, I really enjoyed it, getting all of this information.
It was a nice revisit for me.
Yeah.
A lot of new things and updated some.
And green space, would you know, Jim, they're still taking water samples from our creeks, aren't they, for independent?
I don't really know. I don't know what the status of that is.
I just wonder, I knew that while I was on the green space board,
They were doing,
they were doing that,
yeah,
yeah, so.
I know there's another group that's taking care of it. I want to call it CAMP with
Yeah.
two
Yes.
A's
Yeah,
that do the watershed monitoring for the whole county.
okay, good.
Yeah, and actually that's kind of who I wanted to have out, maybe speak at an R and I meeting or have, you know, a little stand out here during, farmer's market day to kind of answer questions or, you know, advocate for, peatlands and, rehabilitation and those things. So, yeah.
Okay,
What was, I had the figure, that language that we're gonna remove, page 118. There was another, I was writing it down
you got
and we were
the,
like quick firing that.
I'm
here.
sorry.
I just wanted to-
you got the wait list position.
Wait list, thank you. Wait list.
The multifamily commercial, according to the website, when I looked at it this morning, are still the same numbers. It's just the residential wait list. Cause I know it, yeah, okay. I know that some have been retired or whatever.
Yeah, it changes
Yeah,
on the drop of a dime. Did we just have a recently retired weightless position?
Yeah, we
Like
did.
in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So maybe we can put like a little asterisk in a footnote there, based on this date and time.
okay.
I was gonna make a similar suggestion on that same page, as a matter of fact. It's worth mentioning that in 2020, the end of the moratorium was forecast to be about 2025. So it's worth a little footnote there to say that there's been no action on that in the last 4 years or whatever. So these dates, this 2025 population of 6,000 and then going up from there is correct based on the 2020 information, but doesn't necessarily vary. It's not something you could support today,
Right.
because it's
There's
zero, it's
nothing
been
factual.
zero, yeah.
Right, okay. And I think that might have been taken from the urban water management plan.
It was
Yeah.
2020 Urban Water Management Plan, which is appropriate, however, just worth a note.
Yeah, we still haven't got a new source of water here.
No.
But we're working on it.
We are working.
We're working on it. Okay, so,
Few small items if I could.
sure.
In section 1.2.1.1, page 80 of the PDF, it says we collect and report bacteriological samples. Do we ever collect full Title 22 of the raw water?
Yes.
Okay, it kind of indicated that bacteriological samples is what we collect basically, and I thought it might be important to say, actually, we do collect
We do
full
collect that
Title
monthly.
22 samples there, yeah, and
And
I
we
just
had-
thought that was a little odd.
No, and in our first iteration of that, we had that in here. So
Oh, okay,
I don't know if that got edited accidentally.
so on page
or-
80 of the
Yeah,
PDF,
you're on 1.2.
1.1, I
Looks-
think it was, yeah. Nope, I was on page 79. Let's see.
Sampling 1.2.1.1.
Raw groundwater.
Raw groundwater sampling, yeah. The district collects and reports raw groundwater bacteriological samples. That's what it says. I thought we probably do more than that.
We do.
Chair Dean noticed the broken cross reference. The description of the WRF, I just wanted to make sure it's in line with our CDP application. It says the WRF has one primary supply of water, extracted, percolated wastewater treatment plant effluent.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 84. I just want to make sure that we're being consistent, so
We
they
did, and-
can't come back and say, actually, that's not what you say. in your
No, we had a
CDP."
marketed approach to that, that
Okay.
would mirror that, so.
Okay.
we'll Make sure that we.
Page 84,
Showing up at the. An indirect puddle, reuse is that second paragraph.
second paragraph, second sentence in the second paragraph there.
One primary supply of water extracted.
Yeah, but a little bit farther down, they also explain that it's attracted through 9P7 and it's a blend of native basin
Yeah,
groundwater.
So,
under-
right. So just want to make sure we don't get someone
Yeah.
being upset because of something that's not in the CDP or different or something like that. So that's just a little,
It is in the CDP, this part about the 9P7, what it's,
Yeah.
it is in the CDP.
On page 98, the words Himalayan tar, there's actually an H in the word tar. If you're wondering why I know that, I had to Google it to say, what is a Himalayan tar? So I had no idea. There's an H in tar, it turns out.
What page is that?
Page 98. They say things
Oh,
nearby are
okay.
Himalayan
Yes.
tars. And I said, what is that? And the last one is just what's a little confusing to me. These aren't that important, but on page 95, potential contaminant sources, section 2.6.1. It starts by talking about the treatment plant includes 3 concrete lined effluent storage reservoirs. In 1998, effluent pumped to the disposal fields flowed into Van Gordon Creek is the next sentence. I had a little hard time with the geographic jump there.
Yeah.
They might want to make that 2 paragraphs or something to say, 1 paragraph, we're talking about a potential contaminant source at the treatment plant.
Yeah, that's kind of, I see, it kind of runs into it and you kind of assume that we're still.
Yeah, it's just for that, like I say, very minor, but I kind of got lost when I was reeling. Suddenly we're at Van Gordon Creek. How do we get there?
Thank you. I
Yeah.
forgot to mark that one. It threw me off.
It threw me.
Yeah, it threw me off too.
Finally, a question for you, Jim.
Yes, sir.
No, sorry, Jim over there. As you pointed out, this is the 2020 report. If you add 5 to 2020, you know we get to 2025. I'm sure you got that much going on. What is the plan here? Are we going to try and see if we can get this accepted as the 2025 report? Or are we going to start another
This will be the
report?
2025 report.
This will be the
Yeah,
2025
yeah, so-
report. Good.
Ever since 2020, we knew our backs were to the wall. We did our sanitary survey with the Division of Drinking Water. They said, hey, by the way, this is late. We just kind of took this over. So they gave me a little tolerance and forgiveness period there to try and find a consultant to try and because this isn't anything we can obviously perform in-house.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, they worked with me on it. So we'll start the clock over right now. So this will probably we'll have another one due in 2029.
2020. Got it.
Yeah.
Good.
And
Thanks.
then we'll start.
So if we're calling this the 2025, wouldn't the next one be due in 2030?
2030. By the time we drop this, it will probably be
But we're
2025,
gonna
so,
work on it in
yeah, so,
2029.
and again, 5 years, this isn't to date with the regional water, this is just kind of a suggested date. So if you're 5 years and 1 month, they're not gonna get a notice of violation for being late, they just want to see that you're updating this around that,
Okay.
half decade mark.
It's one of the things I think.
And we have other documents like the groundwater management plan. Similarly need to be updated.
Right.
Yeah.
So, much like we did our in-stream flow study for, the San Simeons, we'd like to have one performed for Santa Rosa's. Again, the only Santa Rosa document we have was that in-stream flow study that was done for the steelhead, migration. So it was a broad brush that Stillwater performed back then. Obviously, they tightened up the San Simeon one for the one that we just released for us. So that's something we wanted to kind of kick the ball around and talk about you guys with. And internally, we'd like to probably see one be done at Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Coastal has their concerns. Again, there's no documentation validating any of them, so we'd like to go ahead and have that performed. I mean, it is about $100,000 document to perform this with all the studies and monitoring that you have to do and analysis. So that's just an idea I'm throwing out there, but I think it would behoove us in our operations in the future. We'll have some updated baseline numbers and some CFS flows that will be a lot more accurate than they were in 2014 and prior. So that's something we can talk about in the future as far as performing and, executing. Obviously, it'd be something that we'd have to budget, so it wouldn't be anything this fiscal year. So we'll talk in calendar year, 2025, July and past after that. So that's some discussions we can have in the upcoming months before we start going into budget preparation and the season.
And speaking of Santa Rosa Creek, in 1.2.2.1, it mentions the Santa Rosa Creek Watershed Management Plan. Where is that located?
That we have never performed that. That is I think a Greenpeace.
Green space.
I think it
Green
was Green
space-
Space in
Green space
2010,
document,
so
yeah.
we don't have a record of it.
Is not our document.
It's not our
Yeah.
document, okay. That's why I couldn't find it.
Right.
Anybody else? Mark, did you have any questions? Mr. Duchek? Mr. Webb?
No.
Any more? Mr. Seaver? Mr. Williams are? Yep.
Nope.
Okay. So, we're not ready to forward a recommendation to the board of directors, or are we ready to forward a recommendation to the board of directors once these things are amended? Are you gonna bring it back again, or how do you want to
I
proceed
think we have it slated to hit the agenda next week.
next week?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, with these edits,
I'll work with Haley, we'll go back and watch the video, there's small edits.
yeah.
Yeah,
We'll have them done in-house, but I won't reach out.
We don't need to send it back to the.
Okay, that's what I was hoping. It didn't have to get sent back.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, these are, edits that we'll perform in-house, and if you guys are okay with that, then we'll.
Yeah.
Then
Shouldn't take very long.
Okay,
Okay,
And it will tie nicely into the in-stream flow study that's being
Mhm.
presented, so I would hate to delay it.
yeah, I don't really want to delay it. I'm happy to hear if you guys are willing to do the changes in-house. It'll speed it up some.
I'm sure Haley will have no problem doing it.
Oh,
I would.
okay, so I have no members of the public online to ask any questions. Do you have any questions? No. Okay, so does someone want to move to forward the recommendation to receive this study to the CCSD Board of Directors?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, and as usual, I'm gonna do a roll call. Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Meeks,
Aye.
Mr. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Seaver,
Aye.
Mr. Duchek.
Hi,
Okay, I pronounced your name right?
you did?
Okay. Okay. So I included in the agenda packet a copy of the revised board and standing committee bylaws. We have recently updated them, and the board has approved some changes that do affect somewhat how this committee operates. The board of directors bylaws have one change that affects chair of the standing committee. In the past, the chairperson of the standing committee was counted towards a quorum because they had the ability to vote to break a tie. We no longer have the ability to vote to break the tie. My discussion with legal counsel was, if there's a tie, you just continue discussing the item until there's no longer a tie. Okay, so that's one of the changes that is within the bylaws, in the board bylaws, as far as what the chairperson is allowed to do. So we're no longer counted as part of a quorum. So a quorum now is 3 of the voting members of the committee. So looking at the standing committee bylaws themselves. So standing committee members can meet with staff or district consultants, but shall not interfere with their operation of duties as determined by the general manager. So you have to go through the general manager unless it is an assignment we're currently working on, and the general manager agrees that staff has the time to work with us on this. And you're appointed to a committee, or we're discussing it with him in person. That is how we communicate with staff. Is that correct?
I like that approach.
Okay. So, so again, under committee members, the CCSD board director acts as a non-voting chairperson who does not count towards a quorum. The rest of that part's the same. The chairperson duties are to preside over the meeting, to supervise, provide guidance, and act as a liaison between the board and the committee. So the chairperson is the liaison between the committee, and anything you wish to forward to the board comes through the chair. Okay. To avoid, let's see, so an ad hoc committee now is only 2 members of the standing committee. In the past, I think we've had 3, but because it is among the 5 voting members, it has to be less than a quorum, and a quorum of the 5 voting members is 3. So there cannot be more than 2 members of the standing committee as an ad hoc committee. However, I can individually appoint a committee member to a specific project. Okay. And to avoid any appearance of unduly influencing the voting committee members, the chairperson cannot attend an ad hoc committee meeting or meet with two voting committee members outside of the meeting to discuss the committee business. If I've appointed a standing committee of two people, only one of you can contact the chair for clarification of the assignment, or we rediscuss it here at the meeting. I represent this committee at the CCSD board meetings. Okay,
And that's in reference to potentially the cause of the serial meeting.
Yes.
Right, the pass through
Okay.
without channeling it through the chair. If we start doing the telephone game, then it becomes a Brown Act issue, right? And so it's called a serial meeting.
okay, and as I previously said, a majority of the 5 voting committee members constitutes a quorum that is required to hold a meeting. So any action by the committee requires at least 3 votes. Okay, and I believe it's not in here, but I believe it's the same as it is with the situation of the board. If there is only a quorum of 3 in attendance, it has to be a unanimous vote. Is that correct? Okay, I think that it's not in here, but it applies to standing committees as well. Okay, is there any questions on these bylaws? Okay. This is only a review of the bylaws. This isn't an action item. Okay. Okay, and I see no public comment on this item. Does any, you have no comments on what we just talked about either?
No.
Okay. Good. Okay, future agenda items. I know that Mr. Juchek has an item he would like to recommend.
Thank you. Yes, I do in fact. So we talked about this somewhat in the past. We talked about bits and pieces of it, but I'd like to suggest for future consideration as an agenda item relative to the Fiscalini Ranch Preserve. It may expand beyond that, but again, we're starting there. An item that I would call the Santa Rosa Creek Comprehensive Stream Flow Restoration, Flood Risk Reduction, and Fire Risk Reduction Plan. The primary reasons that this is a CCSD matter are that CCSD manages the maintenance of the preserve, flood control basin, the banks of the creek, both east and west of highway and out to the ocean. Cambria has been significantly impacted by flooding 4 times in the last 3 years. And along with this, I would expect that we'll find significant potential environmental and incidental water supply benefits associated with looking into this matter, including the potential for enhanced groundwater supply as an incidental measure. So my recommendation would be that as a future item, we discuss the Santa Rosa Creek Comprehensive Stream Flow Restoration, Flood Risk, sorry for the long title, Reduction and Fire Risk Reduction Plan.
Okay, so we can put this on the agenda, a future agenda to discuss this, but it'll need to also go before the board to see if the board determines it's under our review. Okay, so
I was gonna ask, would it be something we do with pros also, or is it hard to say?
it would have something to do with pros, and I'm assuming you've talked to FFRP about it.
In the past, yes, not currently, no.
We had some discussions, I had some discussion, I believe it was with the board president. And I believe Director Thomas also, it's been kind of talked about at pros. I believe you.
Yes, we have talked about it.
And we're on 2 sides of the fence. Pros is like, I'm not really sure it has to do with pros. And then I talked to the president is like, yeah, it might fit into R&I. It's this weird outlier on
Okay, so
where it's gonna fall.
Yeah, the last that I got from both the president and from Director McLean is that it would be here.
I thought it would be the best fit because it's not really a Parks Rec and open space issue.
no, it's not.
It's
But-
sort of,
But is the creek under, the creek itself, which needs to be cleaned up, is that under our jurisdiction or is this more of Fish and Wildlife's jurisdiction?
Fish and Wildlife owns it for 25 feet on either side.
25 feet on either side?
yeah, there's a lot of regulatory agencies that would be a part of it, I imagine.
But so, I mean, that's not a big deal. So, right, there's a lot of funding for this right now. Most of this funding is due by the end of the year. So this would be kind of a scramble to get an application submitted that's has a scope and is articulate. And I mean, permitting's about a year, funding's probably about 2 years before it would be awarded. So this is you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah,
This
it's a long
is a 3-year commitment before you even see the light of day.
I'm in for it.
I believe,
Okay.
I believe Mr. Ducic is preparing a presentation, so we'll go ahead and have him give us the presentation of exactly what wants to work with at our November meeting, if you're ready. And,
I'll get ready.
we'll go from there.
And staff's working on some grants in the background, but from my understanding, this is a multi-million-dollar project, just with the length and the permitting and all the environmental. So, we started looking at, okay, well, how are we gonna fund it? You know, because obviously when you take a look at it, it's not coming from, enterprise funds, right? So it comes right back into the pros, general fund. You know, and there's so many projects within the district right now, especially with fire apparatus replacement and things like that, but we have to start looking at funding ahead of time. Before we really look at doing anything with it, so.
Okay, so we're kind of getting into a detailed discussion here. So we need to,
Sure.
yeah, so,
Let's make it a topic.
let's bring it back and, November 4th. Okay, any other future agenda items? Does staff have future agenda items that you'd like to
Geez, where do we start?
have? I know you have a lot on your plate.
Cody,
I'd like to bring in some, presentation for satellite-based leak detection.
Okay. Okay,
How far do we go?
well,
this is kind of cloud talk right now. So get some things off your chest that you want to talk about. You think that would be beneficial to the community to kind of glean that information. So, I mean, I'd love to bring back another SST update. I've been wanting to do that, but honestly, we haven't got
Right
much,
now,
there's not much
there's not
being
much.
executed right now, so we don't have a whole lot to talk about.
so maybe by December you will.
One would hope,
Okay.
yes.
So they are coming in and doing
soon?
RIP
Do I have to bring in 3 quotes on that?
MCC
or-
3
Okay, well, it's just a topic
or 2, excuse me.
for a future.
Okay, then I don't know how long the core funding's available, but, there's an incentive right now for an electric tractor. It's like 3/4 off. It's through core funding, the health fund is something.
Yeah, it's state funding, yeah. it's basically
I don't know when it ends or when it runs out of funds, but I could probably bring the report on to you guys. to see how-
Can you do that November 4th? Okay. And Tony, you want to do an update on where you are with
Yeah, I could do an update with the
November or December? You want to do it November?
November.
Okay,
There is some action that will be happening, mainly through tough automation. We're trying to figure out pieces where we can contractually jump in and not affect other issues. So tough automation has done the ROIOP cabinet, which would be our SCADA-based cabinet. And then they're gonna come in and start on MCC 3 and redoing portions of the SCADA in MCC 3.
okay. So we'll have a report on that in November. Mr. Reaper, do you have something?
No, at this time.
What's the status of the EV charging station?
And-
Cost the districts,
Oh, the eight.
For the 8 out here?
no, I think we were gonna talk about at some point about the scope and cost for where money was available for the charging station. Did that get taken care of? The charging station for
wastewater.
yours, the
We're
wastewater.
right, so
Yeah.
we're about ready to submit that application.
Okay.
So it's a matching grant, so it's a 50-50 grant. And it would be for a higher end level 2
Okay,
charging. The level 3s, the fast chargers aren't covered. But those are $60,000 devices.
right.
I don't think we need to charge our pickups in 45 minutes. It's also very hard on batteries. The 350 DC fast chargers. So I think, 2 DC 250s would be adequate for us, but, right now we're gonna submit that app. So that can be something that we can bring forward, yeah.
And
because that'll need a decision and resolution.
I don't think you announced that we got our first EV charge. Our
I
EV
wanted,
truck.
I wanted to get it outfitted first, you
Oh.
know.
And I opened my big mouth
Yeah.
because I couldn't help.
Yeah, he announced
I
it
know.
at the board meeting, so I was
Yeah,
surprised.
it's out there right now. We're kind of putting it through its paces and charging and, I've donated one of my personal charging cords to it so that way we can charge around the plant and stuff, but it's fantastic. Of course, I'm a big EV guy.
Before he was.
I couldn't
Yeah.
help it. We were talking about the 8 chargers that we were gonna get at the vet's hall, and I just blurted out. It's great timing, because we just got our first EV truck. And then Jim nudged me and was like, it's not gonna be ready for a month until we get it outfitted with all the crossbars.
So if you have a secret, don't tell me. It wasn't a secret. We weren't trying to keep this, you know,
What's the
hid
schedule
away.
on the charging station? That's just a conceptual.
That's good.
We're 2 years probably out
Yeah,
from
okay.
being able to use that.
The vet's hall ones, that grant still has to be approved, so we're working with, who's it?
Silicon?
Slowcog.
God.
So Slowcog's submitting the grant, we're one of the sites, if that grant gets approved, then the site gets approved, then we gotta go through all that, I mean, it's probably. If it was approved tomorrow, we're still a year plus out with all of that stuff, but. But good for the district, but I was so excited that we
Yeah.
were pushing that through and just blurted out, we got our truck.
So let me get some stickers for you.
Yeah,
and
right.
stuff, But
Well,
yeah,
I
it's
believe you got a
fantastic.
Thumbs up from one person in the audience and from all of us.
See? It was worth it.
It is.
Okay, the one person in the audience
Yeah.
and her companion.
SR4 tanks repairs. That's over 25, so that's gonna need to go in front of R9.
Okay.
There's your next staff report. Okay, this is good.
3. Late 03.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the status of our easement, our access road? For SR4.
SR4, I haven't received the go-ahead from legal to go ahead and start, scheduling that. We've reached out, we've got some soft informal proposals for that. So anywhere from, without the fencing, just for the road, just the base and the grading of that. And I think we're looking, what do you say, 30? 30 to 40, yeah. Again, these are just word of mouth, informal proposals. But yeah, as soon as I get the go-ahead, that's.
Yeah, I'll work with Tim on following up on that, and then
Okay.
I'm gonna stay connected with Dr. Southern at the school district, timing right.
That's our new super at the school?
Yeah,
Very good.
so that could be something that we're doing it during Christmas break, you know, which obviously is the wet season, but spring break, whatever, you know, it may be not such an urgent matter that we have to do it when school's in session. We may target summer,
Right.
next summer, so kind of depends on her timeline, but we'll keep that on the radar.
Okay, so when will you be ready to bring forward the criteria for not just a well, but any, is that you doing that?
Actually,
That was
I
him.
have-
I was just, I was just about to pass it off. I was just about to pass it off.
I have already started writing. You did right here.
So I want to ask for a well, but for any other option we have for water, how much is the minimum that we need to be able to get from
Right.
it? The cost analysis,
So the-
you know,
Okay, so the criteria I've started drafting was for wells and geomagnetic locating specifically, but if you would
Okay.
like me to expand the scope and include other sources.
well, I think it would be good,
Amounts.
don't you? Because, you know, we have besides just wells.
Yep.
You know, so, you know, we need to know what cost versus how much water we're getting.
Yield.
What's, yeah, yield.
Model the scope.
Okay, and Mr. Meeks, when do you weren't able to get a hold of him or you didn't get?
We were supposed to, it's just back and forth, and I guess he's just really busy, but he's playing really hard to get.
Okay,
So he's like twice told me he was gonna call me and never hear from him. I text him, oh, I have to get back to you. So, I mean, I thought in our last meeting, we pretty much ruled that, you know, even with an acre, it's not gonna
yeah,
pretty,
and
it's not gonna move the needle that much. And it's probably just financially infeasible, I would think, you know,
okay. Okay,
so
so we want to let it go?
you wanna let it go?
Yeah, the only other thing, I reached back out to the Cogen.
Oh, that was the other
vendors
thing.
again. And I haven't had any correspondence returned yet, but that could be a
Okay.
potential topic.
Okay.
We get some return communication.
Okay. Yeah, you sent them, a
An
question.
initial study.
Yeah.
Whether it'd be even financially feasible to do it, so just have an idea response from that.
Okay. Sounds like we have plenty of stuff for next month. Anybody else?
Cody, I saw the look on your face. Do you want to push one of those items to December?
I'm just worried about with the EV tractor that the funding runs out before we are able to make a move.
So you don't want to push it?
I could write something for.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else and no one has any objections, we can go ahead and it is 3:05. Thank you.